How's it going, New World? Sethphir here, and I am back once again. This time I am going to be talking about the future of New World. So we have a lot of things on the horizon with the mutated dungeons approaching very quickly, and we recently had a developer interview and update for the month of January, and they talked a bit about February and what's to come within the game. So I wanted to set down and TLDR that developer interview a little bit, as well as talk about my personal thoughts and feelings on the direction that New World should be pushing towards and how we can get things moving along smoothly. So it's going to be two parts here. So for the first part, the dev interview was pretty interesting. In the interview, they talked a lot about mutations. They talked about bugs and upcoming fixes. They talked about weapons and the balancing of that, whether that be just a little bit small or not. Weapon swapping bugs and the way that things were queuing up within the server in terms of like switching instantaneously between weapons or being stuck on them when you're involved in combat. They also spoke about PvP, small scale, ranked like 3v3 and 5v5 that they're looking at in the future for towards more like February, probably after that, I would imagine, as well as a couple of other interesting things explaining the mutated system, the Umbral shard system, and the way expertise and their concept behind mutated keys is going in the future. So it was a good thing to watch. It was about 38 minutes all in all, and I sat through everything and listen to what they're saying because I wanted to be able to like share my experience as well as someone who plays, thousands of hours on the game constantly. I do this all day, every day, right? And I consider myself a decent player. I've cleared everything. I've played in wars. I've won wars. I've lost wars. I've cleared all the mutated dungeons on the PTR. I've done all this stuff, right? So I'm very involved in the game right now, and I listen to a lot of people talk, especially within my guild and the community in general. I try to read as much comments as I can. And the thing that I see right now is that New World is lacking that in-game content to some degree. This mutated patch that's coming up in the future will be very good for the game because we need true in-game content. Like doing an arena like the Siren Queen is not really in-game content. Mutators are the first version of mutated content that we will see, and we need in-game PvP content because realistically wars are not something that's accessible to all players, and it's also very hard to be competitive in a 50 versus 50 setting with so many variants and factors that you can't control, especially the lag within wars, a lot of the bugs on the weapons and the meta within the wars. Like, currently everybody's just running around with Void Gauntlet, Ice Gauntlet, screaming people to death, and you're just locked in place and you can't do anything. And there's all kinds of shenanigans going on, right? So, and I think that those things are okay, but what this game really needs is a core end game, a reason to log in every day and every week. And both of those are different things, right? So we'll talk about like logging in every day is something that you can do dynamically with your friends for fun. And then logging in every week is something that's more of a scheduled thing on a timed instance. And that's kind of what mutated dungeons feel like right now. You can currently get one mutated orb from crafting with the stonecutting profession, and you can get one mutated orb from the faction vendor. And that is going to allow you to run two for your personal character every week. And that's quite a long time, right? If you think about it, you get to do two dungeons that last about 40 minutes each every week. And granted, you have a group with you, so your group members will also use their orbs. So that's 10, right? 10 potentially, 10 dungeons every week. But the thing about mutated orbs is that when you use it, you're taking a gamble, whether you can or cannot clear that difficulty or not. And a lot of players, especially those that are not playing on the PTR, are not prepared, and that's a video that we're going to talk about later, are going to find it very sad when they use their mutated orb, but they can't clear a 5 or 6 difficulty because they just didn't know what to expect, or there's so many variants, or they didn't have the right group composition, or something happened, right? And not meeting that clear time It sucks a little bit because you can't progress further if you don't hit the silver rank. You can still get all the Umbral Shard rewards and the loot rewards for clearing it, but it will definitely slog you back a bit. So only being able to do, 10 runs per group or 2 runs per individual player is a little slow for that, right? Right now, people are looking for something to do. They're looking for that. So I would recommend that we increase the Mutated Orb cap. 2 is not enough. I get that there's a balance in the amount of loot that people are getting, but to make my point here, take a look at this stuff, right? These are all weapons that I received through doing a lot of mutated dungeon stuff, and this is majority of my legendaries. Now 80% of these are not great, right? Like, if I compare it to loot that I have in the end game, like on the actual client that I've crafted myself, I have way better items than these. Like, some of these are decent. Like, this spear is solid, but it's not good. And most of the items, the legendaries that you're getting, are named items, right? They're special named items with set perks, which are very random, right? Like, the game's definition of good perks and the player's definition of good perks are different things. Take, for example, this hammer. It's a named hammer, and it has really good stats. Angry Earthbane, keen, and keenly empowered. That's fantastic, but it has 20 focus and 10 dex, which essentially makes it a dead item. So it's hard to control this variance. So I would propose that you increase the amount of mutated orbs to at least 5 per player. And I think that that's decent because that allows every group 25 runs per week if they want, and if they don't want, they can just stockpile the orb up or sell it to another group that wants the orb, whatever that case may be. And that would probably be a fine way to go about it because, again, you're getting a randomized item pool of named items and random stats, and it's going to be so hard to track down anything that's actually worthwhile, right? Legendary is cool, right? But a legendary can be just as bad as a great item if the stats are incorrect. It's basically rubbish. You might as well just destroy it if its stats are really bad, right? So that's something to take into account. So I don't know what the developers are thinking in that line, but all I can surmise is their thoughts from the developer interview, which it seemed to me like they wanted to balance the amount of good loot that you're getting with the amount of time that you're spending. But right now, people want to play the game. They want something to do. They want to log in every day, and it's so hard to obtain this best in slot loot, these pieces that actually matter, that are actually good and worth upgrading, that upgrading it from 2 times per week to 5 times per week would not hurt at all. And you could even adjust it from there. Maybe it needs to be more. I'm not sure. But all I do know is that mutated dungeons are hard, and I'm a little worried for the people that will get up to the higher ranks, like the 5 or the 6, and then fail it, and then not be able to do it until next week, and then fail it the week after that, and they're just permanently stuck in like level 5 or level 6, like without even being able to go back in and keep attempting it. The more times they can attempt it, that would be better. Maybe needs to be some sort of failure protection, where like if you fail your orb, you can get it back so many times, or something along those lines. But the point being that people need the opportunity to do this new in-game content constantly, because the content that's currently in the game is consumed already for majority of players, right? There are some players that are still probably, maybe they haven't hit level 60 yet. That's probably true. Or they're still trying to get their gear score up there. That's also true as well, but they're still going to need something to look forward to. And I think a lot of die-hard New World fans are sitting here like, well, I've completed Lazarus Instrumentality, I've completed Garden of Genesis, but what do I do now? Like, I'm waiting for something, right? I'm getting these items for something, and the Mutated Dungeons is that something. It's very fun, and I think it's very well designed. Obviously there will need to be some balance to it as it goes on, certain named enemies being too powerful with certain combinations, and that can all be adjusted over the course of time, right? Not a big deal, but the point is that players need some content right now to go into. So with that being said, over Mutated Dungeons, the next topic I wanted to talk into was PvP. I saw a lot of talk about open world stuff within the game, and I think all that stuff is pretty good. Like open world raid bosses or giant bosses that the entire world can come together and kill sounds like a great idea. encouraging open world PvP sounds okay, but a lot of times open world PvP ends in unfair battles, right? It's usually 10 versus 1 or something like that. Very seldomly is it an actual fair fight. So adding in these features like 3 versus 3 ranked arena, 5 versus 5 ranked arena is a very good idea. And if you can get this in February or the month after, the sooner the better. It's going to do wonders for the game. It's going to give people a reason to stay in, an end game, and something to climb for, especially if there's a ranked leaderboard. And especially, this is very important, all the servers need to be linked. You need to be able to queue up with people outside of your server, because as you can see right now with certain servers, they are dying off, and the dying off servers are getting merged into others. And if you've ever queued Outpost Rush on a server that's not very popular, you probably know what I'm talking about. It's painful, right? You're sitting there waiting forever for someone to play against, someone to play with, and that's not something that you want to enter with the arenas like 3v3 and 5v5. It would make a lot of sense if it was linked across all servers within the same region. So all of US West, all of US East, all together, so that you can queue in and play like that. And I don't know if that functionality is here right now. Maybe it has to be just server specific, but if it is going to be server specific, I think that the servers do need to come together a bit. We have a lot of very small servers with a little bit of populace, and I think that was due to like the start of the game, like the big launch, the big hype. Okay, let's introduce all these servers, but now that it's winded down to its state of, you know, who's staying to play New World and who's looking forward to the future, and people are maybe off checking other games or something, I think it's safe to pull in a lot of these servers together and create big groups so that everything can be healthy and alive within the region. So, PvP, I really hope that that's going to be coming soon. That's something that I've been looking forward to since the beginning of the game. That's actually how I started as a content creator. I just, emailed Amazon. I was like, hey, look, I want to do like ranked PvP arena stuff in the future. Is there something going to come with that? And that's something that I'm very passionate about. I would love to see that, especially with a ladder and a leaderboard, something that we could do to compete against people from all servers within a region, or even everything that has to do with that. I think it's something that will provide a lot of content constantly for many months and years to come, and it's something that will be a very strong dynamic hold in the game that will allow you to get the breathing room to create the future content that you may want to focus on. And that being said, with the final touch, we know that every raid or every MMO has raids, right? Raids have always been a big part of every MMO. I think that New World, I think it was said by a developer in the developer blog, where New World really shines in that small scale combat. I agree it does, because that's where mechanics matter, like dodging and blocking and landing your skill shot. In a war, all of that stuff's more or less minute, right? You just clash into each other, dump all your AoE spells on a point, and hope you wiped everyone to where they have to be forced to respawn, right? Like, no one cares about their life. They just care about diving into the point or getting the point, right? So it's nice to see. It would be great to see that combat system come alive in small scale combat for PvP, but also for raids. And raids within this game in New World, in my opinion, would do really well as a 10-man or a 15-man, not too many people, right? Because when it's too many people, we start to ignore mechanics. But when it's a smaller amount of people, like for example in the mutated dungeons, all of a sudden you have to dodge, you have to block, you have to communicate with your team and get your team to do stuff. And so if you had something like a 10 to 15 man raid within New World, it would do really well, in my opinion. And you could even consider 20, 25 man, but 50 is not going to cut it. Please don't go that route. I know war content is 50, and honestly, I think war content that's too much for war, right? 50, it doesn't lend to the style that New World has in this skill shot, action-based, stamina-based combat system that we have. Is not well suited for mass battles, right? It's better suited for high intensity, small scale skirmishes. And the way you can get that going in raids, in my opinion, in New World, would be to have bosses with large hitboxes, let's say the size of this fountain, that could easily support 5 or 10 melee stacking on different sides of it. That way they're free to dodge and actually get in and attack and do mechanics outside of that, right? And that's the important thing, is making full use of the reason that New World is interesting, right? And in my opinion, the reason New World is interesting is because it's an MMO that plays like a fighter, right? Like you have a stamina system, you have iframes, you have skill shots, and you have like physical interactions with characters, and that's really fun. So to highlight that part is going to be really key for the future of New World, and I hope that helps give some insight to what players like myself are thinking, maybe what some of the community is thinking, and I'm interested to hear your opinions as well. If you have any thoughts on the way New World's content should be handled in the future, let me know. Let me know what you enjoy about the game. What would you like to see more of? What do you think about ranked small-scale PvP? What do you think about raids? How big should raids be? What do you think about mutated dungeons and their difficulty and the rewards? All of that stuff is things that I am interested in, and I invite everyone to come converse with me about that, and even Amazon as well. If you want to get any feedback or talk about something or discuss something, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to do so. I know we communicate, here and there, but seeing New World do well is something that I have in my heart, right? Like, I like this game, I enjoy it, I'm gonna be around, I'm gonna be playing it, and I want to see it succeed. So anything I can do to help that, whether that be gather feedback from the community or kind of give advice on what I see for like this game, I would definitely want to contribute that. So that's going to be it for this kind of deal here. So again, it's just stuff in the future to come is going to be very nice on the horizon, especially with those mutated dungeons and the ranked PvP. We're kind of in a waiting time until that happens, but that's okay, you know? So we're kind of going for there and checking all that stuff out. I just want to thank you for watching, everyone. Appreciate the the continued support as we venture into New World, and different MMORPGs and all of those sorts. So I definitely just want to thank everyone, all the viewers and members that have joined for that. Make sure to subscribe, like, and hit the bell if you have not already. We also have the join button if you want to become one of those members today, and a Discord in the description link. And I will also add the full dev interview in the description link down below so that you can check all that stuff out and get every single detail if that's something you're interested in. Thanks for watching, and we will catch you in the next video.